Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Network Indiana's Indiana Sports Talk. I'm Bob Lovell, and it's brought to you by Indiana Donor Network. A little basketball to talk about coming up this hour with Kristen Airy. Dr. Len Clark from Irish 101 will join us and talk about Notre Dame football. Right now, though, welcome back, everybody. This is Indiana Sports Talk. It's brought to you by Indiana Donor Network. Spring football. I can't do this show in the spring without Dr. Len Clark, Irish 101. Len, how are you tonight?
Bob, it was practice number 9 of spring ball for the Fighting Irish. Here are some of the key takeaways as media had a chance to see the practice. Over 60 live reps. That's up from 40 last week as the team is really starting to show some steady improvement. The quarterback update, C.J. Carr, Steve Angeli, and Kenny Mitchie all progressing very well according to Marcus Freeman. Leadership-wise on defense, Drake Bowen has really emerged as the vocal leader. And then junior linebacker Jalen Snead is having his best spring since arriving at Notre Dame. Standouts on defense, Jason Anye, Donovan Heinisch, Gabe Rubio, and freshman Tay Johnson from Fort Wayne Northside High School looking very good. He's looking to fill the void left with the departure of two-time All-American Xavier Watts. On offense today, tight end Eli Raridan, a great day, kind of reminiscent of a couple of great tight ends in Notre Dame history, especially Michael Mayer just a couple of years ago. But on the downside, injuries, Gerby Lambert, a freshman, out for the spring with a shoulder injury. Wide receiver Micah Gilbert is recovering from injuries. And then running back Jeremiah Love in practice today pulled a hamstring and was taken out for precautionary reasons. Now, the Blue-Gold game will conclude spring drills. That'll be next Saturday. And then on a personal note, Marcus Freeman's son, Vinny, has committed to Cornell for wrestling.
Oh, okay. Well, it's going to be interesting around the dinner table during holidays. Not able to keep him home, so to speak, but congratulations to the Freeman family. That's pretty strong stuff. This is going to be a tough act to follow from last year, Lynn. You talk about, a group that's got a lot to prove would be this year's squad. Next year's squad, so to speak, because of all the success they had last year.
Well, there's still a lot of optimism. Marcus Freeman and the coaching staff, which includes the new defensive coordinator, Rob Ash, who comes over from Ohio State, it's reloading. That's the mentality. It's people stepping up. It's the next man in mentality. But, Bob, one thing that's really refreshing is that there are 7 players on the roster from Indiana who will make an impact. We'll talk about the freshman, Tay Johnson, the safety out of Fort Wayne North, looking very good. Look for him to possibly start in that opener against Miami of Florida down in Miami. And then you've got Cam Herron from Warren Central, Styles Prescott out of Hamilton Southeastern, sophomores Tommy Paulus from Penn, the juniors, Drake Bowen, as we talked about, really an emerging leader out of Andran, Ashton Craig, who got hurt last year, the center out of Lawrenceburg, and then Justin Fisher, a tight end, a senior out of Mishawaka. So it's always great to see the Hoosiers dotting the roster of the Fighting Irish.
I mean, it really is, and I appreciate and applaud Coach Freeman's willingness to make an impression and get kids from Indiana. I think sometimes we forget that Notre Dame is located in Indiana. I think it's interesting if you ask anybody on the street, where's Notre Dame? I'm not sure what answer you'd get. And that's good to know. All right, so practices are going well. We mentioned the injuries. Blue-Gold game next weekend. It won't be long, will it? This thing starts before we know it. We'll be going on Saturdays.
Can you believe that, Bob? Just a couple of months away, and what's going to be determined is who is going to be the starting quarterback. They all bring special skills. They look very good. First time we've seen them in a long time, but this is a quarterback competition that's not going to be solved in the spring. It will be decided in fall camp. But then one thing that will be decided probably before the kickoff of the 2025 season is the 105-man roster. That's something that may be implemented based on a final ruling. That'll bring the roster limits down by 23 players. And so the one thing that could be in jeopardy, Bob, is the status of the walk-on. the Rudies, if you will? What about the 12th man at Texas A&M?
Right.
Cultural changes taking place in college football.
Absolutely. That's for another discussion. I don't think anybody, the only ones who like it are the kids and their parents, and that's not such a bad thing when the game is actually supposed to be about them. And so, but it is a much, much different situation. All right, you have time to stay through this scoreboard update because we want to come back and talk about a leadership program that you're involved in at Portage High School. You might be, you're an entrepreneur. You are a much acclaimed expert in new media. You're a fellow. You got a lot going on. So if it's okay with you, I want to talk about this leadership program you're involved in after this scoreboard update. All right?
Thanks, Bob. You're flattering me.
Perfect. You're welcome. Very welcome. Scoreboard update coming up, and then we'll talk more with Dr. Len Clark on Indiana Sports Talk. Welcome back. Nathaniel, you are 100% correct. I watched some Bob Cousy back in the day. Without question, he was tremendous, fun to watch, and congratulations to Braden Smith. We return to Dr. Len Clark from Irish 101 and our man with Notre Dame. We can't do it without Len in the spring and obviously in the fall, talking about Irish football. All right, Dr. Clark, remind me of this fellowship you have, this award that you won 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Well, it was a Kiplinger Fellowship at Ohio University, and I spent last week in Athens, Ohio, really having a chance to interact with some of the world leaders using AI in media applications, and it was just kind of like a master class. I thought I knew a little bit going in. I found out the more that I learn, the less I know, but just a great week of interacting with individuals all over the world to really help find out where this new age of media is going. But thank you for talking about that. But I'm really excited about this leadership project at Portage High School. I've been working over in Ireland in the summers the past couple of years, and I'm taking off again at the end of the month to spend the summer in Ireland and doing some media training in the Ukraine with a project that actually Portage High School, I got them involved in. But it's named after Larry Casbin, the longtime athletic director at Portage High School who died last year. But really what I've been doing is that I use the DISC assessment. DISC is kind of like Myers-Briggs, if you're familiar with that assessment test on steroids. But the goal is that I would like every student athlete at the high school to take this pretty much early on and then monitor them through their 4 years at the high school and work with the coaches to see if it makes an impact. Now, this past year I did have a beta test with Laura Underwood, who is the gymnastics coach, and hopefully we'll be able to talk to her maybe in a week or so because she's down in Missouri doing something gymnastic related right now. But I also had a chance, Bob, to work with a couple of the basketball players, and I do need to share a story. Garrett Clark was recruited by the Air Force Academy. He is an academic all-state basketball player. This past week, he went in for his final physical. They found out he has a tree nut allergy, and they will not allow him to enroll. So now he's looking for a basketball scholarship, and I know there are a lot of coaches that listen to your show around the state of Indiana. If you're looking for a kid who is academically qualified, has great basketball skills, when I saw that, it really broke my heart. And I had a chance to work with him with this leadership project as well. So I'm hoping he'll land on his feet. But it's just the quality of his response on Twitter, thanking the Air Force coaches for the whole process and looking at it in a positive way. I don't know how I would have taken it, having my dream pulled away from me, but I just hope that he lands on his feet and just thank you for the opportunity to talk about him.
All right, tell me about the leadership program. Give me a few more details in terms of how this might impact coaches and student athletes and how it can help programs.
Well, really, DISC is a way to help people understand the various personality types, and there are 4 different personality types. And so if the coaches and the players can understand each other's, it's going to just increase the communication awareness and the ability to communicate more effectively. And so I think that is going to, will it translate into making a 3-point basket or score a touchdown? No, but I really think it will have something to do in terms of leadership and the way that people communicate with each other, and a better understanding of how to communicate. And so that's something that hopefully we'll be able to research over this 4-year period as we apply the assessment to every student athlete. That is the goal. Now, how do you fund that? I have an illustrator who has worked with me on the book that I wrote last year. He is going to design a print of the high school that will be sold to offset the cost. And so it's going to pay for itself, but more importantly, it will pay in the classroom and hopefully on the hardwood, the gridiron, or the rink.
I wish I'd had something like this when I was still coaching, seriously. Because I just think that, when it gets right down to it, when you need these types of tools as a coach, not when you're winning. That's, you can handle winning. It's when you're not winning. It's when you're having problems and you have new players and those kinds of things, and you lose 3 or 4 or 5 in a row. How does this group handle, and how does the group handle success too? And so I think it would have been really important for me as a coach to know my guys better, know how I could better serve them and understand them better as individuals.
Well, I've been able to be fortunate to cover Notre Dame, and I'm pretty much looking at everything that Notre Dame does with their student athletes and try to apply it at the high school level. But you're exactly right. If we had the tools, the technology, and just some of the things that we can do today, back when, in our day, if you will, it would have maybe helped us out a little bit more. But I think we had to learn the hard way, and I wouldn't change any of those experiences.
Yeah. Well, all right. What do you need me to do to help you get this thing more publicity?
Well, I'd really like for you to talk with the gymnastics coach, and I'll try to get a schedule of her when she might be able to talk. But, to see how it's applied. I'm just the gatekeeper. I've introduced the project, but I really applaud her for saying, hey, I want to, one, honor the legacy of the longtime athletic director, Rick Hasman, that gave her an opportunity, but then to see how it resonated with her players. And like I said, we did a beta test, and so we'll take a look at how effective it was and, some of the things that we can do a little bit better. But as I said, the ultimate goal is to track a student athlete from freshman to senior level.
Right.
And then my goal, Bob, is to really replicate it around the state of Indiana. And that's something that I'd like to do to give back to the state that I grew up in, that you grew up in.
Sounds good. You can count on me. Absolutely. Any way I can do it. Dr. Len Clark, he's the man. Thanks for the call, Len. And if I don't talk to you before you go to Ireland, this is not fair. You just keep spending too much time. You go there and I don't, which is absolutely not fair. But I'm happy for you. But have a great time.
Well, Bob, I want you to take the show on the road. Let's come over and do Indiana Sports Talk from Dublin. How about that? But thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Bye-bye. Thanks very much. Dr. Len Clark, Irish 101. Okay.